One of the most solid camera blocking techniques is to think of camera movement as going between keyframes. So we're doing 2 of those on this episode, plus some excellent foreground parallax. This is Hot Moves. First up is a beautifully executed keyframe-based move, and this is an excellent method for getting a handle on camera work. But be aware that now that we're going to draw an unnatural amount of attention on it, it's going to seem artificial and forced. So just remember that when you're watching a movie and just sitting in your sofa, you never think about this. All you see is just camera work that lands in all the right places.
Danny, reporting as ordered with me. We're going to need a tactical plan for command deck security and crowd control throughout the behemoth. Has there been a credible threat?
So what we're paying attention to is all the places where people stop, even if it's just for a second.
Sir? It would help to know what we're defending against.
Can I count on you?
Yes, sir.
So this is rich and expressive blocking, and it feels like much more than the 1.5 setups that it actually is. This is really classic keyframe blocking because basically the scene is bootstrapped around 2 keyframes. The first is a right angle master up here. Just remember what that looked like with the officer on the left and Bobby Draper on the right and the behemoth captain in the background. So that's the first keyframe, but then they actually extended that with a lead-in where both the officer and Bobby Draper actually step in from the side. And the camera follows the officer in, but we could have followed Bobby Draper and it would have basically been the same shot. And then the second keyframe is down here, which is 1/2 of an over-the-shoulder. So you see, when we're blocking in keyframes, we're not thinking so much about the camera moves. We're more thinking about the keyframes. Here's the first keyframe and here's the second keyframe. And then the camera move simply happens when we connect the keyframes. So let's just run through it one time in the diagram. We're starting here in the lead-in positions. We're panning in with the officer. And then we go into the first keyframe. You can see the camera's panning with her, ending in a right angle master with the captain in the background. And then we start pulling into the second keyframe, which is a camera that's pulling ahead of them. Here we cut back and forth between these 2 cameras, and then when the officer walks out, we do a close push on Bobby Draper. So let's watch the shot again, and now you can see all this happening. So this is the lead-in into the first keyframe. We're pulling ahead. The officer's picking up speed because she has to end up in the over-the-shoulder. Then we stop here. This is half of the over-the-shoulder. This is the other half. Back in the first. And then the officer walks out, and then we do this little close push here for a reaction. So this is perfect blocking. Okay, next up is another keyframe to keyframe move, but this time the keyframes are a little bit too obvious for my taste. We're starting a couple of edits earlier because the shot we care about was part of that blocking.
So this guy does MCR and retrofits.
First cheap fast, doesn't ask questions.
You know me.
And then the dialogue continues here for a bit. So basically they're having a conversation around the command panel, and Holden is here and Naomi is here. And this whole thing is covered in a variety of cameras that isn't really important for this. But the one that we care about is over here, over Naomi's shoulder on Holden on the outside of the dialogue. Then Amos and Alex walk out, and now we're in this outside camera. Then as Naomi walks over, Holden steps toward her and the camera resets to a right angle master. So again, the clip, we're over Naomi's shoulder on Holden, and when they move, the camera resets to a right angle master. Or kind of right angle-ish. They're kind of framed a little bit to the side. It's nice, but it bothers me that it's so obviously keyframe to keyframe. So to make it less obvious, you could first of all just go slower, because there's really no reason it has to happen this fast. And secondly, you can change the timing. The characters and the camera don't have to move to the same clock. If we simply arrive late, the shot becomes much more graceful. Now we get this constant evolution where the camera slowly arrives in a more and more perfect framing. I think it would have worked better here. But I'm not judging. You win a few and you lose a few when you're shooting quickly, like on a TV show. So it's all water under a bridge. And finally, I bumped into this shot that had some super nice parallax. So this is a scene where they're being filmed for a documentary, so it's kind of a hidden camera.
Themselves though, now and then.
Me?
do, though. I mean, it's
So what I love about this shot is the choice of thick parallax as we're craning down.
person has. Hey, hold on there. Okay, look, he's just overloaded.
Most people's instinct is to show things as clearly as possible. But the storytelling works better when we actively try to hide things. Thick foreground parallax, where you can't see everything that's happening, feels like a bug when you're shooting it, but it's actually a feature. So I hope you thought that was interesting, and I'll see you in the next video.